afternoon. We're delighted to welcome back to MIT His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso XIV Dalai Lama. This is his second visit to MIT. His Holiness visited us 6 years ago. In his teachings and in his writings, the Dalai Lama has addressed themes related to the spirit and the mind and heart, peace, leadership, ethics, and interfaith harmony. In his eloquence, the Dalai Lama has influenced people from all faith traditions and from many nationalities. He has made many friends at MIT and in the Boston area. The public affection for this Nobel laureate underscores the salience of the themes he speaks about and with which he has come to be associated. His Holiness is at MIT today, however, to dedicate the Dalai Lama Center for Ethics and Transformative Values. The center will be part of religious life at MIT. The center is a new resource for us in a mosaic of congregations and communities that support our students and that will engage our community on the great questions of life and meaning. All of this is so important as our young men and women go out to be leaders in many fields. The Dalai Lama's insight and spiritual leadership, which we capture today in the center, is his gift to us today. We are most grateful. The commitment for our community to give voice to inquiry and dialogue on ethics and values reflects our appreciation of the Dalai Lama's leadership and our belief that these questions are important to our mission, indeed central to our mission, to provide our students with a diverse spiritual mosaic of opportunities for community and dialogue. It is now my high honor and distinct pleasure to present to you His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso XIV Dalai Lama.
Dear respected Chancellor and professors and I think some teachers and also perhaps I think student, then some guests, of course especially the Catholic monk. The
Father Keating.
Thomas Merton kanda kompadine.
Father Keating is from the same monastery where Thomas Merton used to be.
So not only your attractive, not only your spirituality, but also your physical very attractive, very tall, and particularly another occasion I met, I think Denver or something. That day, your shave not properly done. So, a lot of hair here and there. So I remember very clearly. So that also, because of additional attraction. So indeed, I'm very, very happy to be here once more. I think our previous sort of gathering here with scientists, very, very interesting, very useful. And here also another famous scientist,
Richie Davidson.
Richie Davidson, my longtime friend as a scientist. Wonderful. So now, I think world now experiencing some disturbances due to global economy. And also some bad news about ecology. Some Chinese academician describe 3 poles: North Pole, South Pole, Third Pole. Third pole means Tibet Plateau, because of high altitude. Some, I think, unique, so very high altitude. So the Tibetan Plateau, sort of, what's the ecology, as important as the North-South Pole. So therefore, he described Third Pole. So these now changing. Although change is part of nature, time never stands still, always changing, always changing. I think from the evolution viewpoint, of course, change gradually. The mammals, or different species of mammals, and also the birds or some insects or human beings also can adapt according to the new change. But certain change, certain means dramatic, within decades, some change, then it is really matter, serious matter. So now, in both field, ecological problem as well as the economic problem. Now last year, when one occasion in Europe, when I met my Italian businessman, and out of my curiosity, I asked him, economy, the market-oriented economy, sometimes people express that's something beyond human control, market forces, they say. But the market economy itself is human creation. So I'm wondering, something human created but looks beyond human control. What's that? Then he mentioned, and then I asked, what's the causes of this economic crisis? He mentioned too much greed, and with that speculation, without knowing exact, but speculation, and not transparent, hypocrisy. These are the some of the causes of this sort of economy crisis. Then in ecology, certain change, according to scientists, because of pollution on these factories or these things. So that also related with our behavior. So these two serious sort of problem, economy, money problem, and also this ecology, now rapidly changing, both related with human being. So, and then, obviously, since the beginning of this century, in spite millions of people genuinely fed up about violence, about bloodshed, but still violence, And even in school, some young children just open shot and killing the classmates, right?
Classmates.
And then also, I think a major, country which really having the democracy, liberty, independent judiciary, freedom of media, like the United States. I think wonderful. Still, some story of corruptions happening. And of course, like China, totalitarian, no religious, no freedom of media people, and no independent judiciary. So people who have power, they are above the law. So that's something exceptional, different matter. But democratic country, and India also, your country. Now my home, last 50 years, my home. So I usually describe now last 50 years, homeless person, but at the same time found new happy home. The other day in San Francisco, I visit Kasadi, homeless person.
Soup kitchen, yeah.
Homeless people. I reminds some experience at my young age. I usually very happy spend a meal with sweepers. So that experience I reminds when I meet using these street people or homeless people. Oh, they are really very honest. They have nothing to hide. Nothing to pretend. So, real human nature, then they are showing. Oh, wonderful. There also, I mentioned, sometimes more elite people, sometimes more hypocrisy, showing something and something hide. But these innocent people are really, truly, very honest. So I really enjoyed that. So in any way, so the what related with this? Oh yes, homeless. Yes, there I mentioned. Me too. In a way, homeless. So now all these problems, essentially, our own creation. All these problems, man-made problem, due to lack of money? No. Due to lack of education? No. Then? Or these troublemakers born special way? No. We all, same way, our life, the way of develop our life, same way. Same way come from mother, same way nourishing by mother, nurtured by mother, and fullest affection. We all same. And then physically, mentally, emotionally, also we same. Now just I mentioned this morning, education, vast knowledge, not come from our birth, but later develop with so-called education. Through education, our knowledge increase. But that, because there is potential to increase that, so on that basis, through education, increase our knowledge. So similarly, warm-heartedness, compassion, potential also there from the birth. So there must be possibility to increase that, utilize certain method. Now usually I describe, or I believe, the compassion, the affection. There are two levels. One basic level is more related with biological factor. That by nature, they're more mixed with attachment and also limited and oriented action or attitude. Then another level of compassion. That's more related or more oriented being itself, not attitude.
Towards the person. No?
Towards being, sentient being, and like human being. And also without attachment. And that not biological basis, but basis on intelligence. So the previous one, compassion, affection, biological basis, or much more influenced by biology. That biased. The second, affection or compassion through training, through reasoning, that unbiased. So now, differences is the biological, the compassion which biologically sort of created. So that towards only for our friend, whose attitude is nice to oneself. So the very reason I love one, I love this, I respect, or I feel sense of concern, this because their attitude towards me is nice. So, limited, biased. As soon as their attitude change, that kind of loving kindness is no longer there. Now, second one, people or sentient being, as a being, as who have experience of pains and pleasure, according to my own experience, I don't like pains and I like pleasure, happiness, and I deserve it.
Yeah,
I deserved achieve happy life, joyful life, and I deserve by nature to overcome suffering. So these reasons, 100% same other sentient being who have the experience of pains and pleasure. So because of that reason, as you love yourself, because of simply I want that, I do not want that. That reason exactly same on others also. They don't like suffering. They want happiness. They also have the right to overcome suffering. So use these sort of reasons. Then develop sense of concern of others' well-being. That is objective, unbiased. That kind of loving kindness can extend towards your enemy also. Although as far as their attitude is concerned, create a problem for you, harming on you. But that doesn't matter. That's something different matter. But as a sentient being, as a human being, they also deserve our love, our compassion. Then another sort of, so therefore, now that's just introduction way. But the infinite, unbiased sort of love, loving kindness, the seed come from biological factors, sort of biased compassion. Now take that as education. Compassion, affection, biologically, there, take seed. Now there's potential to increase that, like knowledge. So therefore, judging our present unhealthy situation, individual level, now this person who takes suicide. Now, recently I was in Japan, and also in my previous visit also, I was told the number of suicide among students also increasing. And then shooting without particular reasons also take place in this country. So it's judging these unhealthy situations. And if there's no other alternative, no other sort of possibility to combat this way.
No, to counter this.
To counter
these.
To counter this. If there's no other way, no possibility, then better to forget. But if there is some possibility to tackle this problem, then really worthwhile to explore. Whether achieve or not, different question. Not worthwhile, make attempt. So that's why many occasions I express, although I am not sort of educationist, as a matter of fact, I have no experience, even attend one lesson where. One class, sort of modern education. So, ignorant person. But as a result of meeting with many people, it seems the modern education, I think whole attention pay on the brain development, not adequate pay attention about moral ethics. Now moral ethics, of course, all religious tradition, theistic religion, non-theistic religion, all talks about the value of ethics. But that generally people, you see, people have the attitude, these moral principles, moral ethics are more related with religion. So those non-believer, those non-religious minded people, the moral ethics also not much relevant. That kind of attitude, that I think attitude is a mistake. So ethics, there are also various levels. Now, for example, our Christian monk, Christian nun, and Buddhist monk, Buddhist nun, and also Hindu monks, you see, our own sort of different ethics. Right? Certain disciplines. Then, beyond that, generally, I think one healthy family life, parent, children, and brothers, sisters, there are also some ethical values also there. Not come from religious sort of idea, but simply by nature, isn't it? So therefore, there must be various different level of ethics. So now, since I believe out of 6 billion, over 6 billion, I think a majority of them essentially or realistically not that much serious about religion. I think America here, Judo-Christian background. You may visit occasionally church and synagogue and sometimes mosque, like that. But your real life and facing some problem, then I think many of you don't care. I just mentioned the Konzadilavi.
Just before I came here, I had a conversation with the board of directors of the center, so where I mentioned a statement made by one Tibetan master who said that people have a tendency to often say that the religious teachings or scriptures might say such and such, but...
So that's our usual sort of, in practical level, we, I think, generally follow that way, isn't it? Particularly when we face some problems, some difficulties, then the sense of brotherhood, sisterhood also no longer there, and patience also no longer there, and tolerance or forgiveness all no longer there, like that, isn't it? So, the essentially non-believers, majority of the 6 billion human beings, I think majority, we can get categorized as a non-believer. So now we must find ways and means of promotion of these ethics or these values to non-believer. Now, logically, we must find certain sort of, usually I call secular ways approach. Now I want to seek your advice, my Catholic monk. Some religious people say, secular means something, rejection of religion. What is the exact meaning? Secularism is some meaning of rejection of religion or not?
Well, I think it depends a bit on what your term secularism means to you and your culture.
Very wise answer. I expect it. So then when I use this secularism, not a rejection of religion. I mean, there's no reason to reject a religious idea. Because all major religious tradition, it talks about loving kindness, forgiveness, tolerance, contentment, self-discipline. These are, nobody argued that these are bad, isn't it? No. But then, perhaps I think the audience may be, I think, relevant to repeat, my sort of explanation to small group. if you're not boring. Now, because of repetition. I mentioned when you see the revolution take place in France, or French Revolution, or Bolshevik Revolution, at that time, secularism, some meaning, objection, or rejection of religion. That, if we go very precise, then not rejection of the religious idea or religion itself, but religious institution. It is understandable. The rotten sort of political institution, system. You see, they're governed by elite people, including king. Usually, at least to his subject, it created that sort of image. King have some special blessing from God. So now, in order to break
down, no?
or in order to break down of that institution, since that institution have some special connection with God or special blessing, therefore, it is necessary to build willpower even against to God. So, such sort of period, I think, anyway, is necessary. Unless you make it very, very precise. So therefore, I think the lead masses, the philosophical sort of the precision sometimes is difficult. But so when I say secular means respect all religions, equal all religions, no preference this religion or that religion. Now, for example, my own case, I'm Buddhist. For my own case, Buddhism is best. But that does not mean Buddhism is best for everyone. No. Therefore, I never attempt to propagate Buddhism. Simply, how much contribution for well-being of humanity or healthy world from my practice, from my tradition. That's all. I always respect, genuinely respect Christianity and Islam, Judaism, and so on. And like late Thomas Merton, I really feel, real spiritual brother. Wonderful. So such a wonderful person. And late Mother Teresa. Wonderful Christian Catholic woman. I think both belongs Catholic, isn't it? So I have to find some Protestant. In any way, I really respect all traditions. So this behind is my secular belief. And then also respect non-believer. Among scientists, wonderful human being, wonderful brain, very open-minded, but as a person, not necessarily religious-minded. So, non-believer, but wonderful people. And in early revolution, in People's Republic of China, among Chinese communists, some really wonderful, compassionate person who really sacrificed their own life for the benefit of the working class people, like that. So these are non-believer, but really wonderful people. So I must respect these things. So therefore, when I say secularism, respect all religions and also respect all non-believers equally. So now here, also I mentioned there, I think everybody agree, human society. If a society, more compassionate society, it's everybody's interest, much healthier, much happier. On this planet, no longer so-called enemy, everybody friend of friends.
Friends.
Then the word we and they no longer there. All 6 billion human beings are part of we. Unless some threat from space comes, then we have to we and they. So otherwise, you see, the entire 6 billion human being is part of we. Our future depends on them. Everything interdependent. World economy, global economy, every human being is participated there. So just one unit like that. So that's the reality. I think strong perception of we and they is the old-fashioned. With that idea, concept of war, destruction of them, victory of we, victory of us, that outdated. So therefore, now, if we really want big human family, happy human family, then the next question is how to build that. I also mentioned that through technology, such as this MIT institution. Eventually, if you develop some medicine through injection, then compassion bring, all hatred gone, then very good. I also want that. But that, I think at least the foreseeable future, impossible. Then, with the bunch of dollars, and find shops who's selling compassion. No. Supermarket. If you shout, oh, I want to buy compassion, infinite compassion, then the people laugh. That person is mad. Isn't it? So therefore, now compassion must develop from within. How? Meditation? Prayer? There's limitation. In the sense, it cannot cover entire 6 billion human beings. So those people, like us, who pray and meditation, is our own sort of way to develop these things. But then those non-believers, it is unrealistic. Forcing on them, you should take religion. Not right. We are we are destroying their freedom. Religious freedom, okay. And also sometimes if you force on them unwilling way.
Against their will.
Against their will, the result always negative. Look, those dictators, former Soviet Union, and now people from China also is doing that. Distort the information like that way. So, human will, human mind is in a way shapeless, not solid, but in a way very strong, isn't it? I think one good thing of human nature is mind can change only through truth, only through reason. That's wonderful. Cannot use force. Physical control, yes, by force, some extent, like that. So therefore, we must find ways and means to promote these inner value. That means a secular way of educating. So that's my main point. Then, because leadership, leadership, that's complicated. Obviously, the quality or potential become leadership. Of course, obviously, the education of these things. Then, I think to some extent, particularly in these days through television, these things, I think physical attraction also a little bit because of the important. So particularly American voters, I think you look just to television and more smart face, you say, I think some people is fond to vote. So basically, of course, education. Then vision. And then perhaps I think one important is realistic. And realistic there can be two ways. The realistic with fuller knowledge about the reality. For that reason, again, calm mind is very, very relevant. Agitated mind, narrow-minded, cannot see the reality. So then your method become often unrealistic method. Any unrealistic method, the result will be negative. In spiritual field, or economic field, or ecology, or politics, or international relations, in every field, unrealistic method will be counterproductive. So, in order to carry realistic approach, you have to get fuller knowledge about the reality. For that, you must look at that objectively. If your mind more disturbed, then you can't see the you can't see the reality objectively. So, like now, this is of course not a political sort of statement, but you see, I think the reality. Now, the communist sort of propaganda, they always say scientific, scientific, scientific. Actually, not scientific. One fixed object. Then try to bring some favorite thing in that object. That's not scientific. So I usually say telling my scientists. So when I discuss with scientists, I do not consider myself as a Buddhist. If you fix some goal, something, then try to find investigation. You already become biased. So some political objective there, and then use name of science, scientific, not scientific. Is it? So therefore, when we look at the reality, our mind must open and neutral. So there are some connection about calm mind. So leadership's quality, I think calm mind is, I think, one important. Then at the same time, now here, some Buddhist literature, you see, stress importance of intelligence. Two contradictory things. So make balance. So here, I think calm mind. In basically,
there should be a sense of ease on the part of the personality.
But at the same time, the quick response and also decisive. So sometimes there are some contradiction, but we have to sort of balance. So these are, I think, the ability of vision. Then, one most important thing is truthful, honest. I think very important. I think even from beggar, up to leader, president. Still, we are in human society. Honest, truthful. It's very essential. If you're saying something and doing something, and saying to this person, saying something, this person saying something, it is source of problem. Must be honest, transparent. So I often urge my Chinese friend, the President Wu Jintao, emphasize the promotion of harmonious society scientifically. So now, key factor is truthful, transparent, open. That's very, very important. So therefore, the honest, the religious person must be honest. And politician must be honest. Economist must be honest. And scientist also must be honest. So that I think one real important quality. These real quality, honesty, truthful, and calm mind related with compassion. Compassionate mind automatically, they open our inner world, inner door, and also brings calm mind. So through that way, I think the quality of leadership also is, I think, related with compassion. That's how I feel. I think, I don't know, enough. What do you think? Well, now some questions to answer. Some questions. Microphone.
They're bringing the microphones.
Yes. Oh. Sometimes it is becoming more alive. You see, direct questions. Provided clear and short questions. If the question almost like introduction by yourself, then waste of time. Oh, very good, very good, very good.
There's a microphone there.
And then I think those persons who have some question, then please line up. Then more quicker. Yes.
Yes, Your Holiness. Could you please suggest some leaders that you think we could learn from? Thank you.
Karsa.
우리 나로네 전전 가시 나로 나스 주자네 아니 가르가르 장주 그래 사실 정말 우리 여러분 우리 나로
Of course, my knowledge, these some leaders, of course, very limited, so I cannot say. As far as I know, on the level of human being, as a human being, I love your former president, Bush. Very straightforward. Sometimes the leadership, politicians, so when we met, I think too much polite, and sometimes you see a little bit distance. But President Bush, not like that. At once, you see, we become very close friend. So I love him. So I think the honesty, truthful, straightforward. I think there. Then the vision, I don't know. Then also the realistic approach, that also I don't know. So you see, one occasion is my meeting with him. I express I love you, but at the same time, some of your policy is concerned, I have some reservation. I mentioned like that. Then, among Indian first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, remarkable, great lawyer, and I think educated in England, great lawyer, great educated.
Legal scholar.
Legal scholar. And there is no sort of any sign of sort of what's the big leader.
Arrogance.
Very humble. Then of course, Chairman Mao Zedong, in early period, when I met him, 1954-55, oh, really, really wonderful sort of leader. But then later, somehow, his own power spoiled him. Sad. Otherwise, yeah, really wonderful leader. That I'm very much impressed. And then, I think these are examples. Now, next question.
First of all, welcome. And I noticed that a few days ago, first of all, I'm from San Francisco. A few days ago, you were in Berkeley. And one of the things you had to say to the young people there was to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And with regard to the Center for Ethics, what do you see as the role of ethics in education and in leadership in today's world?
I just mentioned, and also I mentioned some other occasion also. I just appeal or requesting, but the real work is need more detailed research, investigation, and then make a sort of proposal, concrete proposal. So I mentioned here also, you see, I have no sufficient knowledge, no experience. So everybody, you see, agree we need some effort, promotion of these ethics, secular ethics, through education. So the detailed work on their shoulder, they have to work, they have to research, like that. Next question. Now here, this side.
Thank you, Your Holiness. If someone works in part of an organization where the organization participates in making weapons, what is a way that person, what is a positive example of how that person can act in that situation?
Weapons on air. No? No? That is a difficult situation. The whole world not that very healthy. With that circumstances, weapon, I think sometimes is necessary. Our aim should be demilitarized world. I think eventually, perhaps within this century, later part of this century, hopefully, demilitarized world. Till that achieve, difficult. So now weapon itself is not much, or so to say, the killing or violence actually not come from a weapon, but the user. So long, I usually call inner disarmament. So long, inner disarmament successfully achieved. External disarmament difficult. So United States, although with nuclear power, bad, and also one permanent member of Security Council who also have the power of veto. These are undemocratic. Eventually, I think we should pray, change these things. I think democratic principle must be brought in UN, the highest world body. I think that's important. But for the time being, of course, we have to accept the reality. So then, comparatively, the superpower, one of the important nations who have these sort of undemocratic sort of right, but still, you are a democratic country, open society, free information, completely sort of freedom of media people, completely free, and then government also accountable, and independent judiciary, so safer. So then, in realistically speaking, as an individual, as a sort of company, you are part of that. Difficult. Make a big change. So that's. In the meantime, I say, if you have really serious sort of concern about the peace and weapon, the very purpose of weapon is to kill. So, your expression, that's, I think, important, make known to public. But then practice. And I think, particularly at the time, because of less and less job than your existing job, I think better to carry continuously. So that's my view. Thank you. Next question.
Your Holiness.
I think I can add one sentence more. When the former Soviet Union there, 1979, my first visit to Mongolia through Soviet Union, through Moscow. So at that time, I think I mentioned the other day, isn't it? I mentioned, you see, they usually call peace-loving nation. So Western imperialist, very because of warmongers. Warmonger. But their East Bloc, Warsaw Pact bloc, are peace-loving nation. So there are some media people of Soviet Union. Because of our meeting. So one person, you see, pushing the word peace-loving nation in my mouth. He pushing. I refuse. Since 1973, I had opportunity to visit Western Europe, the NATO member state. Not that sort of the warmonger way. Only sort of fear of threat from East. So readiness of that, a realistic approach. Otherwise, there's no sort of spirit to attack there. So therefore, I refuse repeat that word. Then he lost his temper. Like that. So the point is, America, I think, genuinely, when you see the President Bush, about to carry war in Iraq, many Americans express opposition. Not only America, from Australia up to here, come to street, express their anti-war sort of expression. So America, I think basically, I think we can say peace-loving nation, I think. So therefore, that much I want to tell you. Now, next question.
So you think this is an apt comparison? And regardless, what is your opinion on such a comparison?
So, America comes to us. All right. Yes. Yes. According to some information, over millions of Native Americans killed by European immigrants. Very sad. At one time, in Germany, I think in Frankfurt, one meeting, some Native American, I think religious teacher, the one Native American as a representative of one Native religious leader he came. And at the meeting, they written long message. The organizer, before the meeting take place, organizer told me, my speech should short. So because there are many other speeches. Yes, of course. I obey sort of his instruction. Then that written question take, almost hour. Very, very long. So I noticed some of the audience, showing boring. Now, point is, there are much sort of grievance about this past suffering in the hands of white settler, and then he mentioned all white people should expel from American continent. What do you think? Is it justice or realistic? What do you think? So then use our intelligence and realistic. Past is past. I think we Buddhists in India, I think Indian Buddhists, much suffer under some Indian non-Buddhist rajas, and also particularly Muslim rajas, Muslim hand. Muslim rulers. But no use to keep some kind of sort of grievance or some kind of resentment. Past to past. Now, for example, Bodh Gaya, some Muslim community there, I think their ancestors, came to Bodh Gaya in order to destroy Bodh Gaya's temple of Bodh Gaya's of the Buddhist community. But now today, the reality is they are shopkeeper, most of them shopkeeper, shopping way, merchants. And most customers are Buddhist pilgrims. So more Buddhist pilgrims comes, you see, their money, their way of their earning. So very friendly. Many occasions, when I was in Bodh Gaya, they always invite me. There are small school there, and also some prayer meeting. They always invite me, and they provide very delicious tea. Very good, wonderful. So therefore, now, the past is past, not in our hand. Now, doesn't matter. Past already gone. Now, future is important. Now, future depends on present. So, present our handling is the seed or basis of our future. So, keeping negative feeling towards the other because of past or history, then more trouble. What use? So that's my view. So therefore, now in Tibet case also, in spite of a lot of problems, a lot of suffering, still I have full faith towards Chinese people. Chinese government, very short-sighted, narrow-minded, and sometimes they act like childish, very narrow-minded, short-sighted, isn't it? One way, they very much concerned about their face value. But at the same time, there's a lot of distorted information. Why? Telling lie. And not transparency. Not transparent. So that's very bad for their image. Isn't it? So I'm appealing since the last March 2008. I appeal to people, world community, as well as Chinese government. Please investigate thoroughly what's going on inside Tibet. And that crisis, whether it's created from outside or not, please investigate thoroughly. And also, you see, I invite, come to Dharamsala, investigation about those records of my talk, and also all files in our offices. And recently,
Recently, you might have heard about the way in which they were able to there's a technical term for this. Cracking. Hacking, sorry. You might have heard this story of the hacking the computers of the offices in Dharamsala.
And that time I was in Delhi, so at a press meeting, one asked me. Then I responded, most welcome. We have nothing to hide. So through that way, investigation is good. I answer like that. So I welcome. And then a little bit half joke, half serious. I also express they can investigate my stool also. Because there is rumor I'm cancer patient. And whether cancer patient or not, investigate my stool. So like that, if things, as the Chinese government say, must show to the world how much happiness of Tibetan people enjoy inside Tibet. Then if things are really happy, wonderful, then our mistake, our information is wrong. We must apologize. If things are really good, we have nothing to complain. As far as change, so reform is concerned, we welcome, always welcome. Ourselves, outside Tibet, as our refugee community, our political system, we voluntarily democratization. As soon as we become refugee, we start at once work for democratization. Now, since 2001, we already achieved elected political leadership. Then, as far as the Dalai Lama institution is concerned, as early as '69, I publicly stated that century-old institution should continue or not up to Tibetan people. They should decide. Not necessary to hold our old system or Dalai Lama institution. Not important. Important is 6 million Tibetan people's basic right. And then also, since we have unique cultural heritage, I also brought from that unique cultural heritage. So I believe our Tibetan Buddhist cultural heritage is something useful. I think this morning also I mentioned, now I may repeat that once more. One Tibetan monk I know very well, before 1959, he also among the one monk among a monastery which traditionally very close to the Dalai Lama institution. So since 59, he arrested and put in Chinese gulag. Next 18 years, then early 80, then under the leadership of Deng Xiaoping, especially Hu Yangpang, you see the new policy open. So Tibetan from inside come to India, from India go to Tibet, visit Tibet also. So that monk, you see, eventually joined with me again. Now still alive. Now his age, I think 96 was, or 90, I think over 90. So since I know him, so when after he came early 80, we met, you see, many occasions, and one occasion I just a casual talk. Then he mentioned during 18 years in Chinese gulag, he faced some occasion of danger. Then I thought maybe danger on his life. It always happened. So then, what kind of danger? He mentioned danger of losing compassion towards Chinese. So that means, as a product of Tibetan Buddhist culture, he is not very learned one, but simply Buddhist monk. So he cherishing compassion. So he consider weaken or compassion, he believe danger. So Tibetan Buddhist culture have that kind of potential to produce such people. So I think a real answer for class struggle is build more compassion here. Then class struggle can be real, meaningful class struggle, isn't it? Putting more hatred, and a class struggle, endless. So in any way, now this is not my lecture on Marxism or something like that. Of course, I myself also, as far as socio-economy theory is concerned, I am Marxist. I am not capitalist. So a Marxist speaking on the front of capitalist student. Of course, at the same time, I have to make clear that Leninism, I totally against. Leninism concerns more power, monopoly power. That I don't like. That I think against human nature. So there's Stalin and Mao Zedong. Early part, I think, truly work for the working class people and against injustice. Wonderful. Then later, something goes wrong. So therefore, sometimes better to approach realistic. So now my point is, in spite of suffering or problem, I always look from broader sides, from a wider picture. So as far as economy development is concerned, it is our own interest to remain People's Republic of China. Provided the Chinese government should give us the certain right which mentioned in the Constitution, meaningful autonomy, self-rule. That does not mean I had certain sort of power. No, I never. 92, one political statement I made very clear, at the time of our return comes, we return, but century-old Dalai Lama's sort of certain right or certain power handed over to local government. And that local government, hopefully, more elected democratic government. We, people who are working in outside, in our own organization, we have no right to ask some special privilege. No. The Tibetan who already working inside Tibet, they have more knowledge, and they, and we are, although homeless, but we enjoy freedom. They really suffer. So they have a right to carry all the responsibility, like that. So therefore, we never ask some special right for us. And as Chinese government, since last year, you should describe me as a demon, isn't it? Demonized. So a few days ago, in San Francisco, I met with some American sort of friend, and then one friend used to ask me, why is the Chinese so much afraid about you? Then I responded, because of my horn. Like that. So the demon certainly is no right to ask some sort of position or something like that. So it is important to every problem look from broader way. So hopefully the Chinese leadership, I think, should look from wider perspective. Then country's stability and unity within the country, unity with other neighbor countries, including the United States, that can develop healthy way. State secret, closed society, with a nuclear weapon, big army, unpredictable, not good. I noticed among Indian friends, because of that situation, totalitarian, no freedom of speech, no free press, everything state secret, and unpredictable, with nuclear weapon, uneasy. Oh, one sort of strange. Last year, one occasion, I'm meeting with some Chinese intellectuals. Since last 10th March, many occasions meeting with Chinese scholars and writers. All is very, very supportive, when we explain truth. And then, in fact, I think since 2000, since last year, almost 800 articles wrote by Chinese. So some of them within China. So all very positive. All shows solidarity. I think two things. Firstly, we are really honest, truthful. And also, secondly, we strictly follow nonviolence. Then thirdly, we are not seeking separation. Therefore, number of Chinese fully support about our stand. So one occasion last year, not last year, this year, March, I met some group of Chinese Chinese intellectuals, and including one Japanese Chinese or something like that. I think Japanese Chinese, isn't it? I think who come from Japan. So we talk, and they, as usual, you see, we very friendly sort of discussion, and my position is, our position make it very clear like that. Then the Japanese, he expressed in front of those Chinese, now Tibet issue solved smoothly, then China become more powerful, then we Japan fear more. No. And then what will happen to Japanese? We really fear about China. He mentioned in front of those Chinese intellectuals, I feel little uneasiness. Then I mentioned, you see, once you see China truly become sort of respected nation, great sort of power, then naturally be more open, more honest, more transparent. Then no danger. I responded to him like that. Good. Too long answer. My answer too long. I took my answer almost like lecture or brainwash on you. So apologize. Then last question now.
Last question.
Thank you so much.
Perhaps last two questions. Yes, yeah.
Thank you for coming. I'm wondering what you think the role or the relationship between an academic institution like MIT should be with industry, let's say in something like drug development.
Drugs, correct. I don't know. I think here I think the main thing is economy, money, business also realistically important, but at the same time you always keep the importance of moral principle. That I think important. Yes, your question.
Thank you very much for this nice presentation. I just want to know what's your point of view about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in the Middle East?
Middle East. Yes, I have been Israel few times, and each of my visit there, I also met some Palestinians. And my first visit Israel, firstly, because the organizer, Jewish, so I already got some sort of information from the Israeli viewpoint. Then next, I met some Palestine, just opposite. A lot of complaint, including historical background. So between these two views, very far. So we need a lot of hard work. again through education. Then my second visit, I met some small group, the educationists. So they already start some small group, young student together, mixed Palestine boys or Palestine students and Jewish students work together. And also according to the principle of reconciliation. That's hopeful sign. So the Palestine and Israel problem. When Israel say, and when Jewish say, 1,000 years ago, it's in their own original place. So they have some right. And then Palestinians say, last several centuries, their land. It's also right. So, and very difficult. The best thing, at that time, I noticed those areas where Jewish people settle, more green, more trees, through their hard work, and also I think the spirit of invention way, more modernized. Those Palestine sites, of course, they remain like something refugee-like. So that also, I think, one, of course, important factor. But they more desert-like. So at that time, I think I also express, and also I feel the instead of quarrel, ownership, simply live together, then let Jewish people more work for greenize way.
Greenery now.
Green soda, more.
More creating more vegetation.
And then Islam, Muslim follow Islam practice, and Jewish follow their Judaism. Then political ownership, not that important. And democracy, and everybody can make voice. Then government, something like national basis. Oh, I think Jewish people, may not listen to that. So in any way, you see the bloodshed, forcing, shooting. Now last more than 60 years now passed. What result? More suffering. And suffering also. Innocent people. What use? The decision maker, they hide somewhere. Even in bunker. But real suffering people, any war, Iraq, in Afghanistan, when Indo-Pakistan war or Bangladesh war. So sometimes I jokingly telling people, or like this institution, eventually find some bullet, that bullet with consciousness, not hit on innocent people, but follow real troublemaker, decision maker, then hit. Once you see that kind of bullet, you see, develop, wonderful. So the real answer your question is myself full of confusion. That's all. So then last question now. Really last now.
Thank you, Your Holiness.
Oh, one lady also here.
My question is, what can we do as Westerners to help the Tibetan people achieve political and religious freedom?
Religious freedom.
Political.
Since, as I mentioned earlier now, since last year, I always appeal, world community, please go there and see thorough investigation without restriction. Now recently, I think 4 German parliament members visited Lhasa, a lot of restriction, very limited meeting with Kasoda people. And Chinese security, because the security person always accompany with them. So through such sort of arranged visit, no use. But we must have sort of free access and then go there, investigate, one thing. Then another thing, since last year, I appealed to Tibetan, not only last year, but many years, I appealed to Tibetan. Wherever you have the opportunity of meeting with Chinese brothers, sisters, we must meet and make friendship. Particularly since last year, I appeal, now it is worthwhile to set up the friendship group and then make known each other, make friend. Then, since you see they well acquainted, then some of our problem then can discuss without emotion. Otherwise, you see, last year, April, when my visit, you see, America, wherever I go, I think a few hundred Chinese demonstrators always follow me with Shungden group. So, at that time, it was some of the Chinese demonstrators, I think most of them, I think paid by Chinese mission. But some really too much emotion. I think Rochester, I met with some of them. Oh, I tried to explain. I think I met 7 of them to listen my explanation and seems to see, understand my position on all these problems. But 5 of them, I think 4 or 5 of them, no interest to listen my explanation. Just express there and sort of what's the emotion, too much emotion, like that. So at that time, the State Department sort of police there, and also between us, so went long table, big table. So they are there, that side. I think fortunately that table saves me. Otherwise, they may sort of slash a slap or like that. Too much emotion. So these things are lack of knowledge and lack of contact. So therefore, now here Harvard, MIT like that. This is some people, some Chinese brothers, sisters, including some professors. You say, meet, explain your view. That's very important. And very, very helpful. One time, I think more than 10 years ago, one time, I think, Lobes used to casa.
Michigan.
Michigan mare. Timamish.
Middlebury.
Oh, Middlebury. Middlebury.
Vermont.
Vermont, yes. There, one occasion, after my talk or something, then we just on the lawn, you see, we go around. One Chinese student come straight. Approached me, and then in front of me he kneeled, and then he mentioned while he was in China, due to wrong information, his sort of idea is something different. Now here in America, he get the true picture of Tibet. So then he mentioned we had created a lot of suffering on Tibet. So he want to apologize, like that. Or then another occasion is old and very conservative. Then after he attended my lecture, then you see he realized, no, not like that. So you see he really want to see me personally. So then he come like that. So therefore, you see the ignorance, as Buddhist Buddhist tradition, you see, believe. Ultimately, all trouble created by ignorance. So therefore, the personal acquaintance and contact and explain true picture, that's very helpful. Yes? Now this one. Sorry. This one. Another lady.
Thank you, Your Holiness. You've participated in forums at MIT in the past where you've discussed visual attention as it relates to meditation. Since today marks the opening of the Dalai Lama Center for Ethics and Transformation, could you talk a little bit about how human visual perception, imagination, and transformation might be related?
I think our next meeting. So, if you say everything discussed today, then no purpose coming next time. So some must reserve.
Your Holiness. Your Holiness, we are deeply indebted to you for lending your name and guiding the work of the Center for Ethics and Transformative Values. We're indeed very fortunate to have your presence here at MIT. I sincerely hope, Your Holiness, that with your blessings will become an instrument of inquiry and dialogue to make positive impact at MIT and the world beyond. We pray that you continue your work for many more years to come. You, Your Holiness, are a living role model for millions around the world. The journey thus far has not been easy, and we expect some difficulties along the way. After all, we are taking upon ourselves the challenge to repair the socio-economic and ecological fabric. There is much urgency to this work if we are to continue growing as a sustainable society. Sustainability, which requires a considered sharing of resources and improved policies. We stand at a crossroads. We face an unprecedented crisis today as humanity. Our environment more frail than ever, and our economy in the midst of dominoes effect, forcing us to accept the realities of a new world order. A world amidst us, there are also skeptics and cynics. Healthy skepticism we can work with. Cynicism is entertainment at its best and delusional at its worst. It does not solve issues, instead generates a sense of active indifference. I thank MIT for continuing its tradition of being at the forefront of facing global challenges and becoming a leader in tackling problems that are of great concern. We cannot have global leaders without courage and integrity, and an institute that shapes tomorrow's leaders must demonstrate these qualities itself in every corner. I'm grateful to Chancellor Philip Clay and Robert Randolph, chaplain to the Institute, for all their help in establishing the center, and to the Dean of Student Life for making this possible. Tinsley Gallion for his friendship and support for this work. There are many that I will not be able to thank by names, but know that I have the profoundest gratitude for all of you. CAC, MIT Police, DSS, and the Office of Tibet. I'm grateful to my students. They are, of course, the best in the world. I continue to learn and grow with them. Yesterday, I had a graduate student ask me, "How are you feeling?" And I had performed their marriage last summer. So I told her, "You remember how you felt the night before your wedding?" it's 50 times more pressure at this stage. And finally, I express my gratefulness to all the friends of the center. This work involves us all, and we must nurture it together so that the generation to come may remember us as people of hope, ethical values, and most importantly, a caring people. We have some of the best people in the world on our side, and there is no reason that we will not succeed in our work. If we don't, then even though I am a Buddhist monk, I would have to say, God save us all. I'm delighted to continue this journey with you as partners and with His Holiness's blessings. Welcome to the Dalai Lama Center for Ethics and Transformative Values.
As we begin this journey together, that's not going to happen immediately, is that you're not going to be able to leave the auditorium until His Holiness is on his way. Oh, no. No, that's right. That's right. It's all a matter of communication.
And also perhaps, I think, student. Then some guests. Of course, especially the Catholic monk. The
Father Keating.
Thomas Merton kanda Kopatine.
Father Keating is from the same monastery where Thomas Merton used to be.
So not only your attractive, not only your spirituality, but also your physical, very attractive. Very tall. And particularly, another occasion I met, I think Denver or something. That day, your shave not properly done. So, a lot of hair here and there. So I remember very clearly. So that also was an additional attraction. So indeed, I'm very, very happy to be here once more. I think our previous sort of gathering here with scientists, very, very interesting, very useful. And here also another famous scientist,
Richie Davidson.
Richie Davidson, my longtime friend as a scientist, wonderful. So now, I think world now experiencing some disturbances due to global economy. And also some bad news about ecology. Some Chinese academician describe 3 poles: North Pole, South Pole, Third Pole. Third pole means Tibet Plateau, because of high altitude. Some, I think, unique, so very high altitude. So the Tibetan plateau, sort of, what's the ecology, as important as the North-South Pole. So therefore, he described Third Pole. So these now changing. Although change is part of nature. Nature, time never stands still, always changing, always changing. I think from the evolution viewpoint, of course, change gradually. The mammals, or different species of mammals, and also the birds or some insects or human beings also can adapt according to the new change. But certain change, certain means dramatic, within decades, some change, then it is really matter, serious matter. So now, in both fields, ecological problem as well as the economic problem. Now last year, when one occasion in Europe, when I met my Italian businessman, and out of my curiosity, I asked him, economy, the market-oriented economy, sometimes people express there's something beyond human control, market forces, they say. But the market economy itself is human creation. So I'm wondering, something human created but looks beyond human control. What's that? Then he mentioned, and then I asked, what's the causes of this economic crisis? He mentioned too much greed, and with that speculation, without knowing exact, but speculation, and not transparent, hypocrisy. These are the some of the causes of this sort of economy crisis. Then in ecology, certain change, according to scientists, because of kasada and pollution on these factories or these things. So that also related with our behavior. So these two serious sort of problem, economy, money problem, and also this ecology, certain now rapidly changing, both related with human being. So, and then obviously, since the beginning of this century, in spite millions of people genuinely fed up about violence, about bloodshed, but still violence happening. And even in school, some young children just open shot and killing classmates, right?
Classmates.
And then also, I think a major, country which really having the democracy, liberty, independent judiciary, freedom of media, like the United States. I think wonderful. Still, some story of corruptions is seen. Now, just I mentioned this morning, education, vast knowledge, not come from our birth, but later develop with so-called education. Through education, our knowledge increase. But that, because there is potential to increase that, so on that basis, through education, increase our knowledge. So similarly, warm-heartedness, compassion, potential also there from the birth. So there must be possibility to increase that, utilize certain method. Now usually I describe, or I believe, the compassion, the affection. There are two levels. One basic level is more related with biological factor. That by nature, that more mixed with attachment and also limited and oriented action or attitude. Then another level of compassion. That's more related or more oriented being itself, not attitude.
Towards the person. No?
Towards being, sentient being, and like human being. And also without attachment. And that not biological basis, but basis on intelligence. So the previous one, compassion, affection, biological basis, or much more influenced by biology. That biased. The second affection or compassion, through training, through reasoning. That unbiased. So now, the differences is the biological the compassion, which biologically sort of created. So that towards only for our friend, whose attitude is nice to oneself. So the very reason I love one, I love this, I respect or I feel sense of concern, this because their attitude towards me is nice. So, limited, biased. As soon as their attitude change, that kind of loving kindness is no longer there. Now, second one, people or sentient being, as a being, as who have experience of pains and pleasure happening. And of course, like China, totalitarian, no religious, no freedom of media people, and no independent judiciary. So people who have power, they are above the law. So that's something exceptional, different matter. But democratic country, and India also, your country. Now my home, last 50 years, my home. So I usually describe now last 50 years, homeless person, but at the same time found new happy home. The other day in San Francisco, I visited Kasadi, homeless person.
Soup kitchen, yeah.
Oh, homeless people. I reminds some experience at my young age. I usually very happy spend or meal with sweepers. So that experience I reminds when I meet using these street people or homeless people. Oh, they are really very honest. They have nothing to hide, nothing to pretend. So, real human nature, then they are showing. Oh, wonderful. There also, I mentioned, sometimes more elite people, sometimes more hypocrisy, showing something and something hide. But these innocent people are really, truly, very honest. So I really enjoyed that. So in any way, so they, what related with this? Oh yes, homeless. Yes, there I mentioned. Me too. Anyway, homeless. So now all these problems, essentially, our own creation. All these problems, man-made problem, due to lack of money? No. Due to lack of education? No. Then? Or these troublemakers born special way? No. We all, same way, our life, the way of develop our life, same way. Same way come from mother, same way nourishing by mother, nurtured by mother, and fullest affection. We all same. And then physically, mentally, emotionally, also.
Good afternoon. We're delighted to welcome back to MIT His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso XIV Dalai Lama. This is his second visit to MIT. His Holiness visited us 6 years ago. In his teachings and in his writings, the Dalai Lama has addressed themes related to the spirit and the mind and heart, peace, leadership, ethics, and interfaith harmony. In his eloquence, the Dalai Lama has influenced people from all faith traditions and from many nationalities. He has made many friends at MIT and in the Boston area. The public affection for this Nobel laureate underscores the salience of the themes he speaks about and with which he has come to be associated. His Holiness is at MIT today, however, to dedicate the Dalai Lama Center for Ethics and Transformative Values. The center will be part of religious life at MIT. The center is a new resource for us in a mosaic of congregations and communities that support our students and that will engage our community on the great questions of life and meaning. All of this is so important as our young men and women go out to be leaders in many fields. The Dalai Lama's insight and spiritual leadership, which we capture today in the center, is his gift to us today. We are most grateful. The commitment for our community to give voice to inquiry and dialogue on ethics and values reflects our appreciation of the Dalai Lama's leadership and our belief that these questions are important to our mission, indeed central to our mission, to provide our students with a diverse spiritual mosaic of opportunities for community and dialogue. It is now my high honor and distinct pleasure to present to you His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso XIV Dalai Lama.
Dear respected Chancellor and professors and I think some teachers